We're recording. We can only do 25 minutes at a time on this, just FYI. So if we go over, we'll have to do another video. Alright, what are we even doing here? UGA 2023 Spring Game Recap.
Let's start with the top, what everybody's wanting to know. What did you think about the quarterback?
Okay, that's the one question I did not need answered. I knew Carson Beck, and obviously, I think I might have said this in a previous video. I knew Carson Beck was going to be the guy coming into the year. I was, however, extremely impressed with the way he played, which everybody was, obviously. I mean, that was a show.
Spirals were tight.
I mean, he didn't miss the ball. I mean, his first probably 12 passes just absolutely did not miss the ball. That for me wasn't the question. I had what is George going to do formationally on offense? Again, our first few plays they came out in 12. Which is what Georgia's still built for at the moment. Until Georgia gets a boatload of 5-star receivers, which they just don't have.
No.
12's our formation.
I would say this. I think that receiving group looked great Saturday. They looked deep.
I think Carson Beck made our receiving group look great Saturday, and this is obviously a debatable thing. There is depth, but
there's speed too there.
My thing is though, 12 3-stars does not a 5-star make, if that makes sense. A.D. Mitchell, I'm butthurt about him leaving. I'm still crying in my beer a little bit about that, and I mean, that is what it is. These guys are going to make their decisions. I don't have anything personal against A.D. Mitchell. I wish him the best of luck in his career, and I'm sure he'll have a long, successful one, but we still don't have a guy who can fill his shoes.
So, no, I agree. Here's my thing, though. It feels like over the past years, we've had a lot of possession guys, or your Pickens, your A.D. Mitchells that are high point guys.
Mm-hmm.
What did you think about Lovett when you saw his after the catch ability? We haven't seen that in the receiver.
That big body, yeah. I mean, he almost looks more like one of our tight ends, really, that kind of that big body stuff. I don't have these guys' stats as far as their straight line speed, like what's their 40 times, yada, yada, yada.
No, just going off the spring.
Who I was impressed with was Arian Smith, because last year, he was hurt probably the first half of the year, but when we did see him, it was just the deep ball. And he is the deep ball guy. He's that speedy guy. He's not real tall. He's not a big body dude. But they threw a couple in routes, a couple slants. He looked good as a more all-around receiver than just this is our burner, running deep when we want some play action go over the top. He's still that guy, but it's good to see him catch some of those under routes as well,
And you bring up a really good point, because those slants, that's getting open off the line, right? And you see, if you remember, like last year, in order to get him off the line without being jammed, they sent him in motion. Mm-hmm. He was our motion guy,
right?
And just burning once he gets there,
Yeah. Rosemy Jack Saint, he filled in for that X when we didn't really have anybody else. And he had a decent year last year, but he looks like he continues to improve. And in my mind right now, Rosemy Jack Saint is the only true X we have. My question with Rosemy Jack Saint is, can he run that go route and be covered and go up and high point catch that one-on-one ball like we saw AD do basically every time he had to, every single time it mattered. Which I'm not saying Jack Saint can't.
Right.
What I'm saying is I haven't seen it from him.
I got you. And I'm with you. I think he has the ability, but he's got to prove it.
Yeah.
And there's one more that is in that boat with him, and that's Meeks.
Mm-hmm.
Another kind of, a little thicker. And if you notice, they did some of those back shoulder throws to him.
Yeah. And, players do get developed, right? So Georgia's got a new receiver coach this year, right?
He was there last year,
Okay, he was there last year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the young guys, we saw a little bit of it. I saw a little bit of drop balls from some of the young guys, but I will say there's some good looking bodies on the field. You know, there's some speed on the field. I mean, there's some guys that can run. You know, they've got to put it all together. They've got to develop. So let's see what happens in the development room. Let's see how they pan out. But somebody is going to have to really kind of step up and do something to fill AD's shoes. That void that he left. The best thing that the receiver room has going for him is it looks like they've got a quarterback who can put the ball in the money. You know,
well, that and the tight end room helps take some pressure.
And the tight end room helps. For sure. So yeah, it's a snowball effect, right? When you've got a good run game, a good offensive line, a good quarterback, good tight ends, that helps free you up. So there's no excuses in that room. No. You know what I mean? We've got to continue to see what we saw a little bit of on last Saturday. But let's don't forget too, with all the good we saw kind of in that first half offensively,
right.
The second half was the defense. The offense was almost nowhere to be seen.
Yeah. You know who took less snaps in the second half? Right?
Yeah, I do. His name was Carson Beck.
Yeah, right.
But good point. Let's move on to that. As impressed as I was with Carson Beck, I was equally unimpressed with our Carson Beck alleged backup Vandergriff, who I don't think is going to be the number 2 quarterback for very long. What was your thought on Vandergriff's performance?
I'm with you. Carson, extremely high on right now. Beck, Brock, I feel like he's kind of regressed. There was no confidence Saturday.
See, I don't know if he's regressed or not because I've never seen him play until Saturday, you know?
That's true. I mean, he didn't play since last spring, you know?
Yeah, well, I guess there were some of those slack games like the Charleston Southern and TCU and, you know, those games that we kind of had everybody get a little bit of love in. But I just don't really remember seeing a lot of Vandergriff on the field throwing the football.
But Gunner, now, to continue, I feel like I'm with you. I think it's going to be Gunner, man. I'm buying stock in Gunner right now.
Absolutely. I absolutely am. Vandergriff was extremely unimpressive. He didn't look natural.
No.
He didn't look comfortable.
Tried to force throws.
Even his throwing motion, it took a week for him to get the ball out of his hands. It was a long windup, and it just...
Very Tebow-ish.
He's a third-year guy. This is not a new face.
That's true.
This is a third-year guy. If you're not pretty developed, not completely refined, but if you're not pretty developed by now, you never will be.
Now, I will say this. In his defense, he's a mobile quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't running. You know, like maybe his elitism, if you will,
right,
is tucking it and running it, which makes obviously the defense pull up, right? Yeah. And I mean, maybe that's how he finds, you know, his game.
Yeah, I mean, if you're running like Georgia Tech's offense, where you need an option quarterback, I don't know, man. I mean, everything he did was bad. I mean, his delivery was slow. He led his receivers right into defenders. I mean, there were 3 or 4 guys that got lit the fuck up. Lit up. Because Vandergriff just lobbed it right in front of the defender. You know, I mean, a quarterback has to be aware of that kind of stuff, you know.
You think Lawson Lucky still remembers those hits?
Oh, I guarantee it. I guarantee it. If you're running an in route or a drag, you know, the quarterback has to know, all right, this is where the defenders are. Throw it back shoulder so my guy, you know, chops down, catches it, and doesn't get smoked.
Right.
Vandergriff let him just get smoked. You know what I mean?
That's true.
And that is on the quarterback. I mean, you're asking a lot of the quarterback, but everybody thinks so highly of the quarterback, and why would you not ask a lot of them? You know, everybody puts such a primo on that position. Well then, it has to be a demanding position.
And it is.
Yeah. But Gunner Stockton, who's a redshirt freshman, he did redshirt last year, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
redshirt
He was
freshman.
scout team last year.
Definitely.
Brock didn't do scout team.
Right.
Brock skipped that.
Which scout team I think probably would help you to a large degree of just you get to play football. You know, like you get to kind of go out and just be loose
Well,
and play.
you get to show what you got.
Right.
Like you say, just play like that, and you
Mhm.
can show the coaches,
Mhm.
hey man, the guy he can roll out to the left and throw across his body. You know,
Right.
stuff like that you can still show.
Yeah, you get to go out and play some football, you know. He looked better than Vandergrift. I mean,
Still needs a ways to go, but
absolutely needs a ways to go. And we're also watching a scripted performance here, right? So, you know, offensively, defensively, they know what the coaches know what they're going to go up against. This whole thing is scripted, but it's scripted for a reason to just to accent your flaws. And you know what I mean?
yeah.
In a game, you're going to script your play calling to accent your strengths, but
Your skill set.
yeah. This is scripted to accent your weaknesses. Gunner, you know, some of the best plays Gunner made was just very simply avoiding pressure, nobody's open, get rid of the football, throw it out of bounds.
So it's my favorite place. I've seen him that.
Live to play another day.
It just showed me maturity.
That's what that is. That's maturity. A lot of quarterbacks don't learn that until they're seniors, especially the mobile ones. Which Gunner is that kind of hybrid mobile style quarterback. So yeah, I mean, really curious to see him going forward. If I'm the UGA coaching staff, I mean, you know, I hate to throw anybody under the bus, but it's like it's pretty obvious right now. Week 2, you know, Beck breaks his ankle, and God forbid something bad happens. You got to have a guy going the distance the rest of the year. I'm putting Gunner in. I mean, that's just where I'm at. You know, I'm developing. If you only have so many development points to give a player, I'm giving more development points to Gunner Stockton than I am, you know, Brock Vandergrift right now.
I got you, and I'm with you. I think the upside is still, the ceiling is still high with Vandergrift. You know, it's just he's not showing that he's progressing.
See, I don't even know if the ceiling is high because again, I mean, a throwing motion, that's something that, you know, that's an 8th grade kind of thing.
Tebow won 2 Heisman's with a lot worse throwing motion.
Yeah, but Tebow was also 250 pounds, you know, and I think Florida did run the option, you know, so.
I see your point.
I don't know. We can move on from the quarterback conversation. Running backs. We didn't get to see a lot of everybody.
We saw the future though.
We did see a lot of Branson Robinson.
No.
Roderick Robinson.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Branson Robinson, the sophomore, was out. Roderick Robinson, 2 freshmen. Basically took every handoff.
I'm glad they gave it to another tough guy. You know, to take over that Darnell Washington 0.
Mm-hmm.
That dude looks tough enough to wear it.
Yeah.
You know?
Roderick Robinson, I saw this tape out of high school, and he was kind of playing in a smaller high school, so that was kind of my only concern. But everything else was not a concern. I mean, he has all the physical gifts you want in a big body running back. A, he's got a big body. B, he's got a lot of power. And C, he has pretty darn good quickness and agility, but what he has that I don't think you can teach a running back is vision. I think that kid has really good vision. He knows when to just turn it up, get that 3 or 4 yards, or when to try to pop it outside, stretch it out.
Yeah.
He has really good vision.
And for me personally, I only want to see you pop it outside like 2 or 3 times a year.
Right.
I want falling forward 3 or 4 yards. I don't care about that 60-yarder you may get.
Meat grinder, yeah. No, we've got some meat grinders. And the thing that you have to remind yourself when you're watching Georgia's running backs is they're going up against the best run defense in the nation. I would say Branson Robinson probably averaged 4.5, 5 yards a carry against the Georgia run defense, the University of Georgia's run defense, which is the best in the nation.
Well, he may have, before he hurt his toe, We just didn't get to see it Saturday because he was out. But
Excuse me, Roderick Robinson.
oh yeah,
There you go. Roderick Robinson, probably average
high on Roderick.
on Saturday.
But real quick, let me ask you this: do you think there's another program in the nation that has a better preferred walk-on running back room than what we saw Saturday? Savion Clark.
Well,
Cash Jones looked good. I mean, like, you know, these were the people we got to see, and shout out to them, you know?
again, I go back to, they're not doing this against some slack team
No.
like Charleston Southern or TCU. They're doing this against the University of Georgia's defense, which is the best run defense in the nation for the last, since Kirby's been there.
And a lot of these
Cash Jones, I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cash Jones, if I want to get on the field, right? And I'm looking at these big bodies. I'm looking at Roderick Robinson, Branson Robinson. I'm looking at Kimmel Milton.
Yeah.
Okay, where do I fit in? Where can I get on the field? Well, who did we lose last year? Who was our best running back?
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on catching the football.
Yeah.
Like that's, Kenny Mack was a receiver who could line up at halfback. I mean, he was a heck of a good running back too, but he could also catch the ball as good as any receiver we had. So if I'm Cash Jones, I'm working those halfback digs, those outs, whatever they want me to do, catching the football.
Right.
And that's where I find my playing time, I'm sure they've got the ability, I'm sure they've got the skill set to kind of do that, the speed and quickness that's required to do it. But that's how I'm getting my playing time from those guys,
That and pass blocking.
Well,
If you can
all
pick
the
up
running
the
backs have
line,
pass blocking. And I'm going to give Georgia's running back coach, was it
Del McGee.
Del McGee?
He actually ran the black team Saturday.
I'm going to give him credit on this. I mean, anybody I've seen play running back at the University of Georgia, they've been able to pass block.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like that has to be a coaching thing.
One of DeAndre Swift's most underrated talents was pass blocking. I mean, that dude absolutely saved Jake Fromm's life a couple times.
Do you think he showed up at the University of Georgia just knowing how to pass block? Or do you think that that's something that Del McGee really worked and instilled in him,
I'm going to go with Del McGee, but something tells me his dad taught him a little something. Have you seen his dad?
Yeah, his dad's a monster.
Yeah.
How's he doing in the NFL, by the way? I don't check on guys.
I hate to say it, but Detroit Lions are continuing to draft running backs.
Yeah, that's good. Good for Detroit. Anyway, every running back I've seen on the field at the University of Georgia, they've been good at pass blocking. So I really think that's a coaching thing.
Well, and it's a physicality thing, and at Georgia, we're physical.
Yeah, all you have to do is watch pretty much any other team's spring game to realize that Georgia can.
Right.
Georgia likes to pop pads.
Well, hey, I want to move on to the tackle position, the offensive line. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
we had two people really kind of compete there:
Mm-hmm.
Austin Blasky
Mm-hmm.
and Ernest Green,
Mm-hmm.
which is a redshirt freshman. Ernest Green looked very natural right there.
Yeah.
Austin Blasky looked very useful. So I'm feeling Green personally.
Well,
What did you see?
I agree with what you just said. Every position needs depth. Last year we had to rotate through 7, 8 guys in the offensive line. Why is this year or next year or the year after that going to be any different? Both the guys are going to get on the field. Who's better or worse? It's hard to tell, especially in the trenches. Your interior offensive lineman, your interior defensive lineman. It's hard to tell live how well their performance is because most of the time with positions like that, when they do their job, it goes unnoticed. If a tackle whiffs a block, well, you saw that, right? He whiffed a block, the quarterback got sacked. If a tackle pancakes a guy, you see that. But a lot of it's hard to notice live. And I didn't go back and rewatch the practice, but yeah, I mean, it's just hard for me to give a solid opinion on that, to be honest with you.
Well, it also brings, I mean, what I've heard reports are our best 5 offensive linemen does not include those 2 names.
Yeah,
Which is, which brings a new dynamic.
yeah.
We can still bump Truss out to tackle, to
Mhm.
bring in that number 5, Micah Morris. Okay? But we also remember the Peach Bowl, and that wasn't necessarily where Truss looked comfortable,
Right, and
We might not be able to get our best 5 on the field at the same time.
right. Playing tackle and guard are 2 completely different
Oh.
positions. I mean,
Yeah.
guard and center, you figure out how to snap the ball, which Florida doesn't know how to do, but, you can kind of work that.
Well, that center, he's got to be kind of quick on the feet too. I mean, he got to be able to get up to the linebackers.
I mean, some people argue that a center is just as important or more important than your left tackle, with a right-handed quarterback.
Yeah.
Guard and center are 2 definitely, very different positions. I mean, excuse me, tackle and guard are 2 very different positions.
Mm-hmm.
For a guy to go from right tackle to left guard, that's a big step. Right tackle to left tackle, it's the same stuff, different side. Flopping between guard and tackle, I think, is much more challenging than going left and right at the same position. And yeah, I mean, I think there's 2 different skill sets. I mean, depending on offensively how you do things, a lot of times your guards have to be very mobile, and they got to get that second level just like a center does.
Oh, yeah.
Or, if you run a power run play, your guards are pulling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they have to have some ability. The biggest thing I saw with the offensive line, obviously we saw last year, and it's just the damn tenacity of those guys, man. Our receiver, number 9, who you were talking big about earlier, the big body guy. Meeks.
Yeah.
Caught a, end route, slant route, 35 yards downfield, right?
Right.
I see the center and the tackle sprinting their ass down there to the 10, and, rugby scrum, dog piled his ass into the end zone. I mean,
So if you're a defender and you see a Marius Mims,
I see that.
depending on where his step is,
Full
he's 6'8"
speed.
or 6'7", right? He's coming at you.
He's coming at me full speed.
Yeah.
I would be like, I'm gonna go for the strip, and then I'm out of there.
Yeah, I got one shot.
Yeah. I'm going for the strip. There's Mims. All right, I didn't get strip. I'm gonna ease on out of this one. Yeah. The tenacity on that offensive line, and man, what you can tell is they take pride in that. You know what I mean?
They do.
Our offensive line takes pride in getting their hands dirty.
Well, Cedric came back. I mean, he's really won that Outland Trophy
Mm-hmm.
that they've been giving to Michigan. Come on. Yeah, can't even get past TCU. That's a good one. We did that in the first quarter.
That's like losing Charleston Southern or something. I don't know.
But hey, there's one last position group I want to talk about with offense.
Well, what haven't we talked about? Tight ends.
Exactly.
That's the last one.
What did you see out of? I know we got to see Lawson Lucky. Give me thoughts.
I think it's on par with the reports everybody's been hearing. Obviously, Brock Bowers is the man, not only in the tight end room in Georgia, but in the NCAA.
Yeah.
I said it last year, I'll say it again this year. For skilled position players, Bowers is the best in the nation. I feel Lawson lucky to have him on the team. Lawson lucky, he got his clock cleaned a couple times, but that was Brock Vandergrift's
But he
fault.
got up like a man.
Yeah, he got up like a man. He also reeled one in while getting his clock
Oh,
cleaned and held on to the football. So he's definitely tough, and toughness goes a long way in football, a long way. He's got the size to do it, his speed's there. I mean, he's not the fastest. He lost, I think it was like maybe the first incompletion that Beck had today. He was running a flag route, lost the ball, I don't know if it was sunlight issue, I don't know what, but that happens. It was a vision thing with him. He's a young kid. he'll grow and
But it looks good.
yeah, learn from that. No, he definitely looked good. I mean,
Oscar Delp looked thick. He's ready to put his hand in the
Oscar Depp looked good.
He's ready to put his hand in the dirt.
Which, when you're running a 12, you know, you kind of have to. I mean, even Bowers put on, what, 10, 15 pounds in the off season.
I don't think you run a 12 without having